David Torres, one of Bakersfield's most prominent criminal defense attorneys, is joining us now live via Zoom. Good evening to you, Counselor.
Good evening, Jim.
I got to ask you, first of all, were you surprised by how quickly this jury came to its verdict today?
I wasn't surprised about the timing of the verdict. What I was shocked about was the first count. That was one of the ones that I had a little bit of concern about. Basically what it is, it's an analogous charge to our second-degree count, and theoretically it's called the depraved heart theory, and that's where a person does not intend to kill the individual, but there's a high probability that his conduct will. And that was one of the charges that I was concerned about, whether or not the jury can actually see that and get through that particular type of conduct and that type of instruction, and perhaps come back with a guilty verdict on it.
Now, you have defended law enforcement officers on multiple occasions here in Bakersfield. What kind of grade would you give Derek Chauvin's defense team?
I would, and you know, they had a very difficult case. This is something that us defense attorneys deal with quite often in our cases. But I think that the thing that I want to give to him is the fact that he did not stray from legitimate science. And a lot of times, in order to try to get a conviction, I've seen, or to try to get an acquittal, I've seen some folks stray to something like excited delirium, which my understanding they were trying to use initially, but he didn't. He stayed within the confines of good science, and he did whatever he could in this case. And let's call it for what it was. It was a very difficult case to defend.
You know, the jury coming back after just 10 hours of deliberations, did you have an inkling that this was the way the verdict was going to go after that short amount of deliberation?
You know, that's one of the things, you know, sometimes you never can know what a jury's going to do. My clients ask me, I always say it's 50-50, even if it's going well or even if it's going bad. You never know what a jury's going to do. But, you know, more often than not, if a jury's going to return a verdict within a couple of hours or say even 10 hours with a case like this that lasted, you know, several weeks, you have an inkling or an idea that they're going to come back with a verdict of guilty.
Do you think the defense team is going to appeal this verdict, David? And if so, on what grounds?
There'll definitely be an appeal. And, you know, as I was watching the cases, I saw that there were some issues that were raised perhaps with late discovery. But everything that I saw was well scripted, well orchestrated. Both attorneys knew what they were doing, especially the prosecution in this case. They knew exactly where they wanted to go, what their limitations were. Even at that last minute where they were told by the court that they had given late discovery and that they had to walk pretty much on eggshells with a comment by one of their physicians. They did what they had to do within the confines of the law. There will be an appeal, but I think that appeal will be unsuccessful.
Very quickly before we go here, David, what impact, if any, will this verdict have on movements across many cities in this country to reform policing?
This obviously is going to be one for the books. This is going to be one of those verdicts where, similar to, you know, the Kennedy killing, a lot of people remember where they were when that occurred, or even Rodney King verdict came out. In this particular case, when somebody had asked me this earlier, my response was this: was law enforcement in favor of the prosecution? Were prosecutors in favor of the prosecution? Because those are the elements that we are trying to touch in our society. Okay. If these individuals were hoping that the prosecution would ultimately convict Mr. Chauvin, in that case, there's hope for this country, because they know that what he did was wrong. And they know, being law enforcement, by knowing what Chauvin did was wrong, it's a step in the right direction.
All right. Defense attorney David Torres, thanks for your time tonight, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Okay.